To crochet presents or to not crochet presents? That is the question. Every year around Christmas, I feel like I see the same sort of conversation happening in the crochet community, which is whether you should be crocheting for your loved ones or not. Last year, I handmade a few of my presents, but definitely not all of them. And whilst my family did understand why I did this, I think a lot of them did want something crocheted. I thought this year, I did want to try and crochet all of my gifts. But before I dive nose deep into doing that, I kind of wanted to test whether it was worth it. Because I feel like there's two sides of the argument when it comes to whether you should crochet your presents or not. Number one, obviously a handmade gift just feels more personal. And if you do take away labor costs and you crochet kind of just for enjoyment, it does become cheaper because obviously you're just paying for materials and your hook. A lot of us already have yarn hanging around and a hook that we use frequently. But then the other side of things is it's just a lot of work. I think with crafters, making a huge batch of things with a deadline can really burn you out. In today's video, I'm gonna spend a day crocheting as many gifts as I possibly can to kind of kickstart this whole handmade gift thing ready for Christmas. And I can kind of answer the question for myself, whether it is worth crocheting presents or not. I'm gonna be crocheting for 24 hours, but this is gonna be spread out just kind of sporadically. I didn't want to do kind of like a 24-hour window because I just don't think that will be that interesting. And I wanted to make quite a lot for you guys just so you can have some ideas as to what you might want to make for other people. Today, the main question is, should we be crocheting our Christmas presents or not? I don't want to blabber on too much, so let's just get straight on into the video. I've just written down all of the people that I'm gonna make or buy presents for, so just kind of like an exhaustive list of everyone that I'm gonna give gifts to. And for this video, I'm just gonna kind of cross off the easier ones because there's certain people that I still have no idea what I'm gonna get. But let's go through the present ideas that I have so far. So the first one's pretty easy. I've already talked to one of my cousins and she wants kind of like a lacy sort of headband. I've sent her a bunch of yarn options and she picked out this pink. Probably won't do this one straight away because I don't have a solid idea as to what stitches I want to use. Some other things that I'm going to make in this video, I think for my uncles, because I feel like those are the hardest people to buy for, I'm going to make beanies, which I should have just released a pattern for. I don't have the yarn selected for that, but I just think that's quite an easy thing that I know both my uncles will wear. And I am thinking for some of my aunties to make scarves because I have been doing some cable work. So I have learned how to knit and I'm currently working on like a knit cable scarf. Will this get done for Christmas? Probably not. I've also taught myself how to crochet cables and I don't know how clearly you'll be able to see this on camera, but I really like the way that this looks. So this one obviously has a lot of cables and is quite fiddly, but I might consider doing kind of like a crochet scarf with just a few cables. I think the hats, the scarves and that headband are going to be the things that I attack first. But I do want to make some filet crochet decor for some of my family as well. And I've already asked my grandma what she wants and she wants a table runner. That will be my most timely piece to make, so I really need to get a start on that. I'll probably go through the pattern books that she gave me to see if they have anything cute because that's not the kind of thing that I would feel comfortable freehanding. So let's leave that for a sec. Let's leave the headband for a sec and let's look for some. I feel like Moon knows when I'm filming because he will always just start acting up. Yes, I'm talking about you, Moon. Let's go ahead and pick out some yarn. I keep some of my yarn in this trunk right here. This is kind of where the majority of my acrylic kind of miscellaneous stuff goes. I do actually have this cotton and acrylic blend. I think I'm going to use this one for the beanie. I do also have this blue, which could be nice, but I'm not sure whether the uncle that I think I'm going to use this for would wear this color. I might see if I've got something a little bit darker. Then I also have a bunch of, wait, you guys probably can't even see. Looking through the cones, I have found this navy, which I think would be cute for a beanie. Now, the beanie does call for half cotton, half acrylic, but you can make it with just pure acrylic. And this yarn is gonna be a little bit thicker than the yarn that I use in the pattern, but to be honest, that should be fine. For scarves, I am gonna have another look through my acrylic stash because I haven't found any yarn to kind of give me inspiration. I do think a chunky scarf will be something that both of the aunties that I'm thinking of crocheting scarves for would enjoy. Let me have a look and I'll see if anything kind of calls, I was about to say my name, but I suppose calls their name. Right, so I think I was looking for yarn that I must just not have. This is yarn from Hobbycraft. It is a chunky. I've had this for years, and in my head I had this in red, which honestly I think my auntie would have loved, but I feel like she's also a fan of basics, so I'm not going to stray from my idea. And I mean, grey is just a safe bet, but to kind of make things a little bit more interesting, there is this kind of like fluffy cream yarn that I've had in my collection for a while as well. And I think mixing these two will be really cute. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the cable design that I was talking about earlier, but I'm not gonna make the cables symmetrical. I kind of want one side to be quite heavy in cables and maybe one have none. We'll see what I come up with. I know what I've picked so far is boring. If anything, it's probably just because the first things that you do think about are the more simple things, so I kind of want to make them first, but I'll definitely be making more fun things towards the end of this video. My 24 hours of crochet is gonna start now. So you guys, I think I'm coming down with something. Due to the time of year, I think everyone's coming down with something, but my boyfriend got ill and I definitely think I've caught that from him. He's on the mend and I felt everything coming up yesterday, but today I just feel a little bit ugh. I've taken medicine, so I do feel a little bit better than I did this morning, but you can probably hear in my voice I am more nasally than I usually am, which is saying something as per my accent. But yeah, I'm just not really feeling up to much today. I did make this bean soup with with beans, surprisingly, tofu, potato, onion, all of that kind of stuff. I've also been doing some crochet. I've spent just under 2 hours working on this beanie. I do have a beanie in this light grey colour and I wear this one quite a lot, so I think my uncle's gonna really enjoy this. Oh, and then also, I was messaging my aunt about my younger cousins and what they might like, just because I wanted to get some like more specific ideas. And she suggested that I make some amigurumi teddies. I got these 3 books from Jess's mum, which you'll know Jess if you watch this channel. She gifted me these because she bought them for herself and I don't think she ever ended up using them. Today I'm going to try and finish that beanie and I'm going to have a look through the books just to get some inspiration. Maybe I'll follow a pattern from there, maybe I won't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet as much as kind of I can without, I don't want to say without straining myself. Like, I don't want to have man flu about everything, but I do feel quite run down. And I feel like if I take things a little bit easier today, hopefully tomorrow I'll feel human enough to kind of get back into the swing of things. So I'll spend some time crocheting today and we'll check in tomorrow just to kind of see what's going on. I'm going to catch you up on what I've made and how long it's taken and what I am going to make to kind of make up the rest of the hours. So yeah, we'll start off with the scarf, and this worked up surprisingly quickly. I do think obviously it's because I used a chunky yarn. The one thing that I've noticed in this challenge is almost like the less I have to change stitches, or change the direction that I'm working in, the better of a flow state I can get into with crocheting, so the quicker I can actually crochet. So something like this is quite a lot of stitches, but because I'm doing the same thing back and forth for like hundreds of stitches at a time, it was actually quite easy to do. This took me a total of 4 hours and 10 minutes. When it comes to the time that things took me to make, I'm basing it off of like how long I was watching a TV show for, so it's not exact, but it's a pretty good estimate. I was going to give this to one of my aunties, but I do think I might give this to my granddad. I don't know, I do kind of want to talk to my mum about what she thinks with like the colour, because I don't really know if my aunties would love this. Now, I did make a second scarf, and this is using a V-stitch, and I used the fluffy yarn that I was going to use with that grey, but this time I used it with brown, and the colour combo just looks so much nicer. This is definitely one of those pieces that I do need to block out, because I could have made it longer, but I kind of got to a point where I couldn't be asked anymore. So I'm just hoping this blocks out to the size that I want it to. This took me 4.5 hours to make. And I've been watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. That's what I was watching while I was making this. I forgot how good that was. I'm starting off with like the earlier seasons, but I do want to rewatch the whole thing. I mean, I haven't finished it yet, but I've been working on that beanie. This took me 4 hours to make. Obviously, with all of these pieces, none of the ends are sewn in. And obviously, I do need to do that to kind of like finish off these presents. So I do want to include that within kind of like the 24-hour time gap. But I've been into town just to run some errands and do a little bit of work. And I got these kind of like middle of the scrunchy things. Literally have no idea what to call these. Does it have a name on it? Gentle on hair? No. I got these because my cousin requested for me to make her a scrunchie, but I'm going to make her a few just because scrunchies are so easy to make. I'll probably save this towards the end of the video. My goal now is I want to have a go at doing the headband for my cousin. Honestly, we're clocking just under 12 hours at the moment, so I'm not sure how much I'll get done, but I do want to get another beanie done, and I do want to get the headband and the scrunchies done, and we'll kind of see if we've got time for anything else. The 24 hours is now up. I'm just finishing off my final end in my scarf. Before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of everything that I made and how long everything took, I thought I would give you my ideas on whether you should crochet your Christmas presents or not, because I suppose that is the whole point of this video. I would say there are two things that you can take away, because like most things, it's not really a yes or a no. So the first thing you need to keep in mind is if you're trying to crochet every present you're making, how many presents are you actually making? Because this number can vary greatly depending on how you and your friends work with presents, how big your family is, and kind of like the norm surrounding how you gift normally, I think will really impact how much you feel like you need to make. Honestly, there are a few friends that I do presents with, but I'm not a big present giver to friends for Christmas. We're just around the age where it's just kind of hard to do, so I feel like we all kind of understand it. Also, I do have a reasonably small family, so me making presents for all of my family really actually isn't a big issue. How many presents you're making is one thing, but then also I think keeping in mind how long you want to spend on each present and controlling that is also going to set you up for success if you do want to crochet your presents. Each one of these projects probably on average took 2 to 3 hours, but if I was spending 8 to 9 hours on each one of these presents, I have a feeling that I just wouldn't manage to make all the presents I wanted to. And then also by the time that I was making my final few presents, I would probably just not enjoy what I'm doing. And I know that's hard because there are a lot of people that we want to gift to, that we have a very specific thing in mind. And maybe it's just about finding that like middle compromise where you're not using a bunch of hours to create something, but you're still making something that that person will enjoy and wear. In conclusion, yes, I actually think it was a good idea for me to give this a try. Don't get me wrong, making these, I definitely started to get a little bit anxious as to how people are going to receive this present if they don't like it. I think it's harder to receive a present you don't like that's handmade, because obviously Obviously, it would be rude if you didn't receive it with a lot of like gratitude, but that almost makes it worse because I don't want people to just accept what I've made them and them not really wear it. That's another thing to keep in mind. Will the people that you're making your presents for actually appreciate what you've done? I feel like most of the people that I've made presents for will really appreciate what I've done, but that is another thing to keep in mind. So yeah, those are my final thoughts. Let's get into showing you guys what I've made. And we can kind of tally up the hours as well. Let's get straight into showing you guys what I've made. Obviously, if you're my family and are expecting a gift, don't watch this part. First off, we have this scarf, which I've decided is going to be for my granddad. This took me 4 hours and 10 minutes to make. And when I say how long each one of these things took to make, I'm not including sewing in ends and kind of like the finishing details, because I did them all at the end, as is kind of my nature. I can't think of one instance where I've weaved in my ends as I've gone, so this shouldn't come as a surprise. I think chunky scarves are a really good present idea. I mean, this is for my granddad and he definitely has like a more classic aesthetic, but I do think a chunky scarf is really trendy, and he's definitely someone who loves something that is warm, so I definitely think he'll get some wear out of this. I don't know though, I think with guys it's always kind of like a 50-50 thing when it comes to like a basic accessory like this. But I feel like I know my granddad well enough to know that he will at least somewhat enjoy this. If not, he'll love it. 10 out of 10, really enjoyed making this. Next, we have this scarf for my auntie. This took me 4.5 hours, and personally, I prefer the other scarf to this one, but this is very much my auntie. I just think scarves are a really cute present idea for people who are gonna wear them. Obviously, I made all of these things because I know the people that I'm making them for will wear them. This took me 4.5 hours, which is honestly a little bit longer than I would ideally like to spend on a present. But I actually really enjoyed making this. As I say, I just kind of like a repeat pattern. So yeah, loves it. We're gonna get into the beanies. Again, if you want to make your own, I've just released a pattern, which I'll leave linked below. But this is how they have turned out. This is another one of those things of I'm nervous as to what my uncles are gonna think of these. In my head, both of them wear beanies like this, so it can't go that bad. And I don't want to stereotype, but I definitely have more reservations as to whether kind of like the straight men in my life are going to appreciate my crafts as much as the women do. But that's not a generalization. That's very much just kind of how my family is when it comes to these things. I'm very lucky where like the men in my life aren't completely toxic masculinity ridden, but they're definitely still quite classic men. So it's very 50-50. But I mean, these turned out really cute. They both took me 3 hours to make. So yeah, loves it. We have this scrunchie, which took me a surprisingly long amount of time. Do you want to go out, Moon? Come on. I do think it's quite simply because I chose a really thin cotton to make this with. So I had to put so many stitches in the first round to be able to cover kind of like this beige band. This is for my cousin and she goes to uni in Brighton. In my head, this color combo is kind of like trendy, very kind of Miu Miu vibes, and I feel like she'll enjoy it. This took me 2 hours to make. As I say, the cotton was really thin. I do think I'm gonna make another one with like a thicker yarn, just because I want to give her options, because obviously this is really cute, but I don't necessarily think there's an awful lot that you can wear it with, apart from obviously brown or blue. Finally, I've got 2 projects which I've started but I haven't finished. First is the headband that I made for my cousin. Oh, there is a hair. This took me 2 hours to make, just because I kept frocking it and redoing it, just to kind of figure out a design that I actually liked. And I did this flower filet crochet design, which I think turned out really cute. I think my cousin's gonna enjoy this. Finally, I used the same design to start a scarf for my auntie. This is the auntie that I was originally gonna give the grey scarf to if it was a red scarf, but I found this cream yarn and I thought with this kind of like flower design, it would be really cute. Not gonna lie, I actually really like the way that this one's turned out. As long as you don't have too many presents to make and you don't spend too much time on your presents, I do think crocheting your own Christmas presents is feasible. I think you just need to be strict with yourself to make sure that you're not working too much, so you don't start to hate your craft. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Leave your opinions about crocheting Christmas presents in the comments below. I feel like we all have a slightly different relationship with it, so it'll be interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Other than that, follow me on my other social medias, and I sell my patterns on Etsy and Ravelry. I'll leave those linked down below. Apart from that, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.